I'm pleased to welcome today's guest, Dr. Gary Sanchez. In 2009, Simon Sinek delivered a TEDx talk in front of only 53 people. That talk, called the Why Talk, has had over 100 million views, and it's one of the top 5 most viewed TED Talks of all time. One of those viewers was a dentist in New Mexico. When he heard it, he tried to figure out his own why. Why was he a dentist? Why was he struggling to find success? Why was life not what he imagined it to be? Unfortunately, nobody had a system or created a tool to help him find his why. So he hired Simon Sinek to help him, and after months of struggling, he finally discovered his why. Not only did finding his why help him as a dentist, but it set him on a path to help others find theirs. Dr. Gary Sanchez was that dentist. Now, Gary is not only a dentist, he's an entrepreneur, an inventor, a speaker, an author, and the creator and founder of the Why Institute. He created a tool that in just 8 minutes can help you discover not only your why, but your how and what, and create your personal message for you. This tool has been used by hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. Please help me welcome Dr. Gary Sanchez.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks. See how much easier that was?
That was great. Thank you so much. One of the things I'm doing is documenting my journey to becoming a podcaster. And so some of these mistakes may even stay in there because I think it adds some value, but we may edit them out. So thank you for being on my show. The question I have for you first off, and I'm sure you hear that a lot, but what prompted you to go to dental school?
That's a really good question because let's go back into this. Probably most everybody listening, their same story is, when you're in high school, one of the most dreaded questions you can get from your parents and their friends is, what do you want to do with your life? Matt, what do you want to do with your life? Well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Where do you want to go to college? What do you want to pick as your major? And I don't know. How the heck am I supposed to know that? I'm 18, 17 years old, and I'm supposed to be able to figure out my life at that age when I'm worried more about pimples and sports and everything else than I am about trying to figure out my entire life. And so I didn't really know. I ended up going to the University of Colorado because one of my good friends went there, and I went to visit him, and it seemed like a fun place. So that's where I went, and I went with the major of undeclared, and kept that as long as I possibly could until finally I was forced to pick a major. So I picked biology because that's what I was getting the best grades in, and it was easy for me. But then that only lasts for a little while because then you've got to figure out, well, what do you want to do with that major? And I almost had like a mental breakdown during that time, trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? Man, I don't know. And so I just picked dentistry because my dad was a dentist and I knew the lifestyle. And I thought, hey, this seems like a good way to go. As good as anything else. So it wasn't by design, it was more by default. And I picked dentistry. Off to dental school. I went to USC, enjoyed it. It was a great time. I really had fun in dental school, learned a lot. Got out of dental school, was excited to become a dentist, go back to New Mexico where I was from, and fix every tooth that I can find, right? Nobody's going to have a cavity while I'm a dentist. So it wasn't necessarily, again, by design, but more by default. Turns out I enjoyed it for many, many years. But during that time, I started to, the advice that I was given, Matt, was build a great product and people will come. Probably heard that yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go out and do the best job you can, reach the highest levels you can get to, and people will naturally and mysteriously find out about you. And so that's what I did. I spent 20 years reaching the highest levels you could go to, studying with the best mentors, going to the best institutes, building a beautiful practice, buying all the technology, training a great team. And I still blended in with everybody who said, yeah, I'm a dentist too. And I was like, man, this is so frustrating. And when I say we reach the highest levels, most dentists take 20 hours of CE a year. I was taking 250 hours every year for 20 straight years. We had half-day staff meetings every week to create our policies, systems, processes so that we could deliver on what we said we could do. And we did have a great product, but people didn't know. The ones that came to us just got used to the way we did things. And, oh, that's just what it is to go to the dentist. right? They didn't tell everyone about it like I thought they would. And that's when I became very disillusioned.
Mm-hmm.
Was thinking, man, I've never worked so hard at something and not gotten the results that I thought I would. And that's
All
when
right.
I went out and hired a coach.
I'm
I
gonna.
hired a guy by the name of John Assaraf. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie The Secret.
I am. I am. We'll get there. I want to hear about that journey,
Yeah.
but I want to back up just a second.
Yes.
When I think of dentists, and I think
Yeah.
most people think of dentists, we think of cortisol. We think of pain. We think of sitting there with our jaw open. So where was the dopamine in it for you? Where was the joy, the happiness? What gave you pleasure? Or, at the end of the day, you went home and you said, I feel good about this.
Yeah. It really came in changing people's lives. I mean, imagine it's hard for some people that haven't had dental problems to appreciate. But if you don't have a front tooth, you can't apply for many jobs. You can't get the significant other that you're looking for. Very, very challenging. It's hard to be intimate with somebody. It's hard to be close to somebody. And so I could help somebody that was struggling with who they are, not being able to smile, holding back, muting themselves. I could help them fully express themselves again. And that was so rewarding. Lots of tears, lots of great experiences. I photographed every case that every person that I helped. So I had, volumes of before and afters, and the look on their face, the look on their eyes, what they ended up doing, becoming, was way more than the doing the actual work. However, when I got out of dental school, one of the first groups that I started working with was we in dentistry, you have what are called study clubs. And that's where dentists get together and help each other and learn from each other and work together. And the first one we had was what was called a Dick Tucker Cast Gold Study Club. Because when I got out of dental school, the best thing you could possibly have in your mouth, and it's still that way today, is a well done gold filling. And so if you ask most dentists, what do they want in their mouth? At least back when I started, it was a gold filling because it lasted many times a lifetime if it was done well. So we would spend 4 hours, 8 times a year working on one tooth. One tooth, we spent 4 hours to get it perfect. That was a lot of fun because in getting it perfect, you got to see what it was like, what it felt like. You got to do it. If you've never done something to the highest level, then you don't know what it is, nor do you know how to get there. You see it, but you don't know how to do it. So we did this for 15 straight years. 8 times a year, we would spend 4 hours to try to reach perfection. Things like that. We had aesthetic study clubs where we would fly in whoever was the best in the world, and they would work with me hands-on over my shoulder and help me to do it the way that they did it. Those kinds of things. Finding better ways, which is my why, was awesome for me. Once I reached a level where I had done, 100,000 of everything, it sort of lost its luster for me. It was more about the dentistry wasn't that hard anymore. It wasn't even that fun anymore, but the conversations and the relationships that I had with my patients is really what became the fun. I would spend more time talking to them and than I was doing the dentistry, because that was what became the exciting part.
I think as I continue on my journey in life, I think philanthropy, one of the things that I may end up giving back is a good smile. I had heard about somebody who they would go up to somebody and say, hey, you don't know me. I'm hired by somebody who's very wealthy, and go to this dentist. He'll take care of you and I'll pay the bill. And so I thought that level of philanthropy would be absolutely amazing.
I had some patients like that.
Really?
Yeah, they would send in somebody and say, take care of whatever they need. And that was a very powerful experience for them. And I would do it at basically cost. Once I heard that, then I would say, well, that's not what we're going to charge them. And we would do it together. So there was a lot of that going on. And the other thing about being a dentist is you can probably talk to almost any dentist and they'll tell you the same thing. There's a lot that we do for free. A lot of people we help for free, a lot of situations where somebody can't afford what they really need, and we just do it because we can, and those were very powerful experiences as well. So, people look at dentistry and think, I hear it all the time, dentists have the highest suicide rate. Well, most people don't know where that comes from. And unless you're a dentist, you can't appreciate it. But here's really where the stress comes in. It's not the dentistry, it's not the patients. That's not the hard part after a while. The hard part is time. So imagine most people have a couple of deadlines a week, maybe, and they're kind of fuzzy deadlines. I had, let's say, 15 hard deadlines every day that I had to make. So you come in, give you an example. So maybe your audience can appreciate this. Let's say you came in to have your teeth cleaned, Matt, and you had a tooth that had a big cavity, and we knew that it was going to need a crown. So I would say, okay, look, it's going to take me an hour to do that. You come in, it's going to take me an hour to fix that. So I'd set up an hour on my schedule to do that. Well, that day, you're having an argument with your spouse and you're running late, and then you run into all kinds of traffic and you come rushing in the door 10 minutes late. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You don't know what my day has been like. I got to tell you about my day. I got to tell you what's going on. So now you're already 10 minutes late. You're sitting in the chair and you want to tell me all about what's going on. You almost got in a wreck. Your wife's ready to leave you. Your kids are having problems at school, all this stuff. So now we're, let's say, 15 minutes into the hour that I'd set up to fix your tooth. And I know that at the end of that hour, I got somebody else that's going to be walking in expecting to be seen on time. So now we go to make you numb. I got to wait for another 5-10 minutes for you to get numb. I walk back in, I'm not feeling very numb. So now we got to give you a little bit more. Now we give you more, and now we're waiting, and Jesus, like 30 minutes we start, and you're starting to feel it a little bit. We didn't wait long enough. Oh, I'm feeling this. Okay, we wait. Then we start, and it's worse than I thought it was going to be. So I thought it was going to take me an hour. It turns out it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a big mess. Now it's taken me so much longer, and at about a quarter to the next hour, my phone buzzes or my beeper buzzes, and I know my next patient's already sitting out in the waiting room. And there's no way I'm going to finish on time. So I have to do but I have to finish it because I can't leave you with halfway done tooth. I can't, so the pressure just starts to mount. And if I'm late for the next one, that gives me less time with that person, which makes everybody from then on late, and everyone's mad at me every day that I work. And it's so much pressure that, and you say, well, why don't you just give yourself more time? Well, I have certain financial goals that I have to make, because every day, if I took a day off, it costs me $7,000 to take one day off.
Wow.
So all my overhead continues, everything happens. So I have to make a certain amount every day just to cover, not even to make any money. And so I can't just make it 3 hours to do one tooth. I've got to start and stop when I said. So I don't know if you're able to feel what that would be like, but every single day I had 15 of those, and it just wears on you and wears on you and wears on you. And that's really where the pressure comes from.
That's an amazing story, and you did a great job of articulating that. I had always thought it was because most people don't want to go to the dentist, but to see it from your side is absolutely amazing. Was that the catalyst then for you to exit dentistry and go into a different direction? When you went to the Simon Sinek thing, were you already like, I need to do something else and I'm just here at this TED Talk just because? Or it sounds like that was the catalyst, that you're looking for something else.
Yeah, I think along the way I was, because now I'm 20 years in. I'd spent 20 years becoming the best dentist that I could. And my practice wasn't taking off like I thought it would. We were doing fine, but not like what I expected for the amount of effort I put into it. That's when I hired a coach, a guy by the name of John Assaraf, who was in the movie The Secret. Through him, I learned how to use the internet, learned how to do websites and drip campaigns and SEO. And so I could tell everybody all about me. The only problem was, what am I going to say? Right? What am I going to say that separates me from everyone else who does what I do? What am I going to say that doesn't make me sound desperate or like I actually need new patients? And so since I didn't know what to say, I just stayed quiet. I didn't want to sound bad until one day I heard him interview Simon Sinek. This was back in 2009. So I heard him interview Simon Sinek. I went to watch his TED Talk, and I was like, man, I watched that TED talk over and over, probably 20, 30 times. And I said, that is what I'm missing. I have a great what, but I don't know my why. I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I do what I do. I just do it. I'm just busy doing. And so I became obsessed with figuring out my why, and I couldn't figure it out on my own. So that's when I called Simon and I said, hey, I need you to help me discover my why. So he and I spent about 8 months together going back through my life looking for clues. And he didn't really have a process for doing it. We just kind of went back through stories and looking for it. And I finally figured it out that my why is to find a better way and then share it, to find a better way and share it. Everything in my life has always been about finding better ways to do things and then sharing them with the world. I have a lot of patents and products and inventions that I've developed along the way that are better ways of doing things. So in my practice then, Matt, we stopped talking about what we do, crowns, bridges, fillings, all that stuff that every dentist does. And we started focusing on why we do what we do. What do we believe, right? We believe that life is better when you have great teeth. And everything we talked about was focused on great teeth, better life, great teeth, better life. And that's when my practice really took off. We stopped focusing on the what and focused on the why. You know, when you talk about what you do, you blend in with everyone else who does what you do, right? I'm a dentist. Oh yeah, I know 10 dentists. I'm a realtor. Yeah, I know 20 realtors. I'm a lawyer. I'm a whatever it is. You blend in with everybody else. But when you focus on why you do what you do, you stand out from everyone else who does what you do. And then my practice just really took off. We went from just getting by to having abundance. And every year from 2010 on, we did better and better and better and better. But as my practice was taking off, and did you have a question about that?
Yeah, I did. I think for the entrepreneurial audience,
Yeah.
it's new and kind of existing entrepreneurs. I want to pause for a second, and maybe even dentists who may be listening to this. What I see is you were one person taking care of one patient at a time. That's a big constraint. You are getting paid based on time, and so you only have so many hours in a day. And when somebody comes in late, there's nothing that you can do. But when you connected it with your why, now there's actually motivation to expand and grow and maybe hire additional dentists. And so you're getting out of this one-to-one to a one-to-many type thing. Is that correct? Is that accurate?
Sort of. That could have been the way we wanted to go. And looking back, I wish I had done that, Matt. What we ended up doing was going from working on tooth to tooth to tooth to working on patients that have a lot of dental needs. So we switch from a more of a commodity based type thing to working with one person for the whole day that had a lot of dental needs. They would come in, we would put them to sleep, we would redo their entire mouth. They would wake up and they'd be ready to go. And so
So
it
instead
went.
of I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So instead of finding, let's say, 15 patients that are each paying you, what, $500 a piece, you find one patient, you work on them for a longer period of time, you have an anesthesia fee, and then you have a higher per ticket item, or I'm probably not saying that correctly, but per patient fee. So you can have fewer patients and help them in a greater way.
Yes. Help the, I do a filling on your upper second molar way back in the back. You don't know what I did. You don't have any appreciation. All you know is, did it hurt and can I chew with it, right? And
Yeah.
that's all you know. But when somebody comes in and they had a lot of dental needs and their life was being held back from who they were meant to be by their teeth, the impact that I can have with them is so dramatic and way more. I enjoyed that a whole lot more. And I was trained for all of the challenging things that they had. So I was the right person for them. And I could help them in one day. I could just rock their world and they would feel nothing at all. So we would remove the pain aspect. We would remove the time aspect. We would move the sitting there for so long aspect and take them from where they were to where they wanted to go in one day, typically. I mean, some took a little bit more, but it was a much better way to go using sedation, right? It was a sedation dental practice. And that became another level of enjoyment and fun and for both of us. They knew that they weren't going to feel anything. And so that was, and then again, the messaging about great teeth, better life, all focused on why we do what we do versus just crowns, bridges, fillings, complete gum care, all that stuff. It was about, the message was all about great teeth, better life.
People do business with somebody that they know, like, and trust. And I think you've done such a great job of summarizing your why that I have to ask, are you still doing any dentistry, or are you completely out of it?
Yeah. So now we'll continue on the story and you'll see kind of what happened to me. So as my practice was taking off, I started getting calls from other dentists that were in all these study groups with me that
Mm-hmm.
would say, hey, can you help us do what you did? And so I became obsessed with this concept of why. Simon Sinek had tried to help me find mine. Once I figured out my own, I figured out a better way, which is my
Mm-hmm.
why, to help someone discover theirs. So I could sit down with you in about an hour. I could take you through a series of questions and help you find your why, and then build your messaging, marketing, and branding all based on your why. And so I started doing this, Matt, for anybody that would let me. And I did it for thousands of people over the next 7 years for free. Didn't even charge them.
Oh,
I would go to events and I would bring somebody out of the audience on stage with me, discover their why in front of the audience, and then build their messaging, marketing, and branding right there on the stage. And I did it, for many thousands of people. And as you know, whatever you're really interested in or involved in, you start to see it differently than everybody else. And I started to notice patterns and trends and similarities. And I started keeping track of everything. And I figured out that there was only 9 different whys. And that was the most important thing I figured out, because once I knew there were 9 whys, then I could help someone discover their why in about 15 minutes. Then I could teach other people to do what I was doing. Then I could get more data. And with that data, I was able to develop the algorithm and write the software, where in 2016, I created the why discovery that just found your why. And what was so great about that is I have done more why discoveries than anybody in the world. And I was only about 70% accurate. 30% of the time I got it wrong. So if everything in your life, your passion, your purpose, your direction, your messaging, your marketing, your branding, your relationship, everything is based on your why, pretty important that you get it right.
how
The
did you
why
know
is
that you, how did you know that you got it wrong?
because it just wouldn't feel right for them. After a while, in the moment it did, and then they'd call me back and say, I just don't think it's right. And then we'd work on it some more and some more. And then we'd say, oh yeah, you know what? Here's where I went sideways on what you said. And then once I developed the why discovery, because if I'm the only one, for the longest time, I was the only one that could help someone figure out their why. At least that's what I thought. If that's true, how big of an impact am I ever going to have in my life? If everyone takes me an hour, and realistically I can do 4 in a day, maybe, how big of an impact will I ever have?
That's your biggest constraint, again, is time, because
Time.
there's only so many hours in a day.
Yes. And only so much I can charge if I was going to charge. And so that's when I developed the why discovery. And it was 100% accurate. Got it right every time. I gave it away to hundreds of thousands of people for free just to test it. And so then I would go back to the people that I had originally discovered their why. And 30% of the time there I got it wrong. And what their why discovery came up with felt right to them. And so once I had that, then I figured out how to add the how and the what, your why, how, and what. Why you do what you do, how you bring your why to life, and what it is people can count on from you. And then the software that you took, the YOS discovery, finds your why, how, and what. YOS stands for Why Operating System, and it finds your why, your how, and your what, and builds your personal message for you in about 8 minutes. And it gets it right every time.
And it's amazing. I took the assessment, I guess you could call it, and it was spot on. And it was like suddenly I was in a dark room and the lights came on, and I saw everything that I had felt my entire life of why I'm doing what I'm doing, why I'm frustrated in some areas, and why I want to hit the gas in others. So can you go through the 9 different whys kind of slowly so that somebody, if you're able to do that,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm oversharing, but yeah,
Oh,
can you kind of go through the 9 whys and break that down for somebody who's listening to say, well, what is my why? And go from there.
yeah. So, okay, there's 9 different whys. The first why is the why of contribute, which happens to be Matt's why. These are people that want to help. They don't necessarily have to be the focus, but they want to contribute in a meaningful way. So they use their time, their money, their energy, their connections, their resources to push other people forward, right? They want to be that pebble that starts the ripple effect that goes on in the lives of others.
And
And that's Matt.
that is 100% spot on. And again, when I saw it, it was like my whole philosophy is to help as many people as I can with my gifts, talents, and treasure. Right? Yeah.
That's exactly, and it's a wonderful why, by the way. And what's interesting about it is that often people with your why feel like they should be in the background helping others do better. But if you put somebody with your why in a leadership role, like you're in now, you'll do extremely well. The most successful person I've ever worked with, both financially as well as relationship wise, has your why. He was the CEO of a company called T. Rowe Price. Probably heard of T. Rowe Price.
Yeah.
He took it from 12 billion to 565 billion. And I asked him one day, I said, Todd, why do you feel like you've had so much success? And he said, well, I believe the secret to my success is that I personally interviewed everyone that works for me. And I have over 6,000 employees. He said, I know something about every one of them. When I can help each one do a little bit better, then we all do a little bit better. And that's the secret to the success of somebody with the why of contribute. Does that feel right to you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. So the second why is trust. Trust. To create relationships based upon trust, to be the trusted source, to be the one that others can count on. If you can trust them and they can trust you, the sky's the limit. There's nothing you can't do. But if you break their trust, it's like a knife in the gut. You won't ever get it back. Boom, they'll cut you off. You'll be compartmentalized into a whole different type of relationship with them. So if you have a meeting with them at 2:00, you better show up at 1:45, because if you're late and you don't tell them, you're proving you're not trustworthy, and that'll be a big challenge. So really important to know if someone in your family has that why, because odds are you're going to break it if you don't know how important it is to them. The third why is make sense. Make sense. To make sense out of things, especially if complex or complicated. These are people that are great problem solvers. You can pretty much dump all your stuff onto them and they'll very quickly make sense of it, help you understand what's keeping you stuck, help you understand it, and then move forward by helping you solve problems. And they do it very, very fast. They're kind of like the know-it-all type person, right? You probably know them. Well, that's your how. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah. My wife is a make sense why. And she's somebody who you can give a problem to and she'll solve it instantly. And she gets very frustrated by people who don't see the obvious solution. So
there you go. They almost have to dumb themselves down to let us catch up because they are so fast at it. And if they're not careful, they will easily overrun you, right? Because she's just, let's go. Come on, Matt, let's go. Well,
yes.
See this.
I have to tell her that often. Okay, you need to break this down because you're talking so fast right now. Nobody's able to track what you're doing. So yeah, let's slow down just a little bit. And then she gets frustrated. Like, why can't other people keep up? Well, it's not them, it's you. Just bring it down a little bit. So yeah. Yes. All right, what's the next one?
So the fourth why is better way, which is my why. To find a better way and share it. These are people that are always looking to improve things, make them better, push things forward, innovate. They can take things that are already there and see very quickly how to make it better. They're rarely satisfied. They're always trying to push things forward, right? So every why, by the way, has great things about it, and every why has challenges that come with it. So the way to think about the challenges are with this one statement. So think about having French fries. A little bit of salt, good. Too much salt, a whole pound of salt, not so good. Same thing with your why. A little bit of your why, good. Too much of it, not so good. And that's for all of them. Sure. So in your case with the why of contribute, if you said yes to every single thing that came across your desk, and you may have at some point in your life, what's going to happen to you?
I burn out. I get overwhelmed.
Yeah, can't get your own stuff done.
Right, for sure.
And then if that keeps going over time, mental breakdown, all kinds of stuff can happen from being continually overwhelmed, health breakdown, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And same thing with every one of the whys. You know, if everything that comes to me, I can find a better way, and every word comes out of your mouth, I make it better. How does that make you feel about me?
Probably, I would guess people get pretty irritated.
Yes. They don't, and it devalues you, makes you feel like you're not enough, could go on and on.
Sure.
And that's what a
Absolutely.
lot of us with the why, the better way do until we realize that's not a better way.
Unsolicited advice is criticism, is a quote
Yeah.
that I heard recently. And I thought that was a pretty great one. And I had to check myself the other day because I wanted to help. And I said, this may come across as criticism, so I don't think I'll do it. And when I put it that way, they were actually more accepting of the ideas I had and implemented them. So, yeah.
That's how you
All
can
right. I think
contribute.
that was on number 4, I
Yep.
think.
Now, number 5 is right way, right way. To do things the right way in order to get results. These structure, process, systems people. They take things that work and they stick to them. There will be no shortage of ideas between you and I, but getting it actually implemented is where you need them. They love to take what we think about and put it into action, create the processes to make it predictable, consistent, reliable. They often are the no person, NO. We said, Matt, we're going to do this and so let's complete this first. Let's not add anything else. Let's not go in another direction. Let's finish this and then we can move on to the next, right? So
this is great. I want to keep building on this, and I have so many more questions. So this is wonderful.
The things in this, okay, so the 6th why is challenge, almost the opposite of that, which is these are people that don't want to follow the rules, don't want to draw inside the lines, don't want to be told what to do, don't follow the recipe. They push limits, they think outside the box, they imagine extraordinary. They're not scared of anything. They're the ones like Steve Jobs and Richard Branson and Herb Kelleher from Southwest Airlines. They're the ones that push limits, get us to think bigger, okay? The 7th why is mastery, to seek mastery and understanding. These are people that like depth and breadth and detail. They take the simple and make it complex by diving in really deep. For you and I, it's 3 steps to cook a scrambled egg. For them, it's 28 steps because they know every step, everything about everything. They look for the little things, the nuances that make the big difference.
I've seen some people in mastery who try to take a subject that should be fairly easy to teach to our EMTs and paramedics, and they make it so much harder than it needs to be. And so I'll hold my question, but yeah.
So the 8th why is clarify, to make things clear and understandable. These are the people that first want to be, they're the ones that ask a ton of questions. First to get clear on what was the question, and then to get clear on what is the answer. Then they'll write you the long text, the long email, because they want to be fully understood and fully heard. And so if you want to move forward fast, they're not the ones to go to. Same thing with mastery. They're not going to move fast, but they're going to be very clear in their communication moving forward. And then the last why is simplify, to decrease complexity, almost the opposite of mastery, to decrease complexity, remove the excess, make things simple, easy to understand. They want things direct, to the point. Don't give me the fluff. Don't beat around the bush. I don't want pages. I want bullet points. They have a small wardrobe, small group of friends, because after all, why overcomplicate things? So those are the 9 whys, and every one of us has all 9. One of them is more dominant than the rest. That's the one that becomes your why. And in your case, it's the why of contribute. In my case, it's the why of better way. The second most is your how you go about bringing your why to life. And in your case, it's about making sense, right? Solving problems.
Yep.
And then the third most common is your what. And in your case, it's the why, it's better way.
Yep.
So if you're writing this down, Matt's why is contribute, his how is make sense, and his what is better way. So let me say it for you out loud to everybody so they can understand you from that perspective. So Matt believes that success happens when he contributes to a greater cause, when he has an impact in other people's lives. How he does that is by helping them solve complex and challenging problems that they're facing. And ultimately, what he brings is a better way to move forward. And how does that feel to you when you hear it?
It just gave me chills. You just summarized everything that I've been bottling up for years. I've been a paramedic program director for a long time. I felt kind of stuck here. I felt like I was doing my students a disservice because I see that I can touch more people. And so I've had this mental debate whether I just stayed being a program director or whether I go and help more people. And I like to help people make sense of complex things, and there's a better way. And so my better way is I want to help entrepreneurs, existing and new ones, get to the next level. So you have hit every note in the musical part of my life, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, but this is why I think everybody should be using your product and your system. And there's so many layers to this that you can unpack it. It's like an onion, the core of it, and then you can use it in multiple ways. You were going to say something?
Yeah, well, let's talk about ways to use it. So now what typically happens when you meet somebody for the first time, let's say your audience is just meeting you for the first time, they're watching us on YouTube or me, they will look at your hairstyle, look at what you're wearing, look at what you have in the background if they can see it, and they create a narrative around what they think they see. And that's who Matt is to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether they're right or wrong, that's who you are. They'll look at some of the things you say and your posture and whatnot. And that's Matt. But odds are they don't have it right. And they definitely don't know your why, how, and what. And how long would it take them to figure out that you're the guy who wants to help by helping them solve their problem and bringing a better way to them? How many conversations will they have to have with you to ever know that about you?
It would take a long time, and most people will never take that time. We make those snap decisions and we move on.
And we move on. And so, oh, that Matt's that guy over there. He's the nice guy that whatever they said, whatever the narrative is that they say. But now that they know your why, your how, and their what, they can see everything else in your life from that perspective. Why would he have a podcast? Why would he spend his time doing a podcast? Oh, because he wants to help his audience. He wants to help the people that are on his podcast. He wants to help people solve problems by bringing on the right guests and showing them a better way to do what they're trying to do so they can have a bigger impact in their life. That's what the podcast is all about. That's why he's doing it. Everything that Matt does will be seen from the lens of that. And so let's say we're now having a coaching session, let's just say. And Matt's confused on what he wants to do with his life, man. Let's just say you're 20 years old. I don't know what I want to do with my life. How am I supposed to figure out what I want to do with my life? How am I supposed to figure out my major? I don't know how to find my passion. I don't know how to find my purpose. My mom keeps saying, find my passion. Well, that's not very helpful. How do I do it? Well, if what you do with your life, if the direction that you go is in line with your why, your how, and your what, you will have passion for what you do. You will love what you do. So let me show you how this works. So again, Matt's why is contribute. His how is make sense. His what is better way. If we put you in a place, Matt, where you don't get to help people, you get to sit in the corner and crunch numbers in a cubicle. We don't want you to solve problems. Just do it the way we tell you to do it. And we don't really care if you find a better way. We just want you to get through and get the results. How's that going to work out for you?
It feels like a prison cell.
Yes. And how long will you have energy for that?
Not very long.
And then but let's say you're stuck in that spot because you got to make money for your family. Well, as a 20-year-old, you wouldn't have to worry about it. But let's say you had to make money for your family and you have to keep that job. You can't quit.
I think a lot of people resonate with that because some people are just working for money instead of their why. And so you get depressed, you may turn to drugs, alcohol, some sort of sex addiction, something like that.
You got it. You got it. But if now let's say we put you in a place where you get to help other people do better. You get to solve problems for them and you get to show them better ways to move forward, even faster, even more impactful. Now, how do you feel about it?
It feels like the gray overcast day when you see a little bit of blue sky and rays of sun coming through, and that's starting to burn off. And it's exciting. It's really awesome.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. So that will be where you find your fit. That will be where you find your passion. That will be where you find your purpose. And the important thing to know is that passion is the fuel that gives you the energy to pursue your dreams. Without passion, you give up, you quit. Because you're saying, right, who wants to do this if you don't like it? With passion, you persevere. no matter what path you pick, it's going to get tough and it's going to get, there's going to be a cycle. When you have passion, you persevere, you hang in there, you stick to it, you push through. And that's why passion is so important. So if you can help if you're listening and you have kids, well, let's just say you're listening and trying to figure it out for yourself. Discover your YOS, and then pick a career path that allows you to live it, and you will love it. You can do this for your spouse. You can do this for your kids. So if you have kids, most often we don't know who our kids are. We see what they do, and we kind of, well, my kid's this. So we tell them what we would do. Well, here's what I would do. Well, they don't care what you would do. They care what's going to work for them based on how they think. But if you don't know how they think, all you can do is tell them what you would do. And there's not much of a relationship there. But when you know your kids and you know the language they speak and you know the way they see the world and you know what their YOS is, man, the types of conversations that you can have with them, the ability to guide them in the right direction, the ability to help them make a decision that's going to work for them skyrockets. So it dramatically changes the relationship you have with your kids. I had one daughter that went through high school and college not knowing her why, because I hadn't figured it out yet. And I had one daughter that went through high school and college very clear on who she was. Totally different experiences. One took 6 years through college, took a year off, couldn't find herself, changed majors multiple times. The other one, man, knew exactly, had an amazing experience in college, now is living her dream, doing exactly what she knew she wanted to do.
What's the youngest age that you could give the Y.OS discovery to and have it be valid?
If they're fairly mature, we've had kids at 8 years old. So the earlier you can help them figure out who they are, the longer the runway that you have with them, and the longer the runway they have to be able to live it. We're right now, we just did a couple of pilots with families. We have a family YOS program that's actually going to be coming out in the next few weeks, where you discover your YOS, your spouse, and your kids, and then you'll create a matrix so you know who they are, their name, the names, and then what's their why, how, and what, and you'll very quickly see why you're getting along well with some and not others, and then how to make it better so that you understand them from their perspective. Let me give you an example. So my niece has the Y of right way. So if you remember right way, these are structure, process, systems people. They find things that work and they stick to them. And she was a school teacher. And so every year she would take a group of kids with her to Turkey to teach English. So she knew what airline, what flight, what hotels, what restaurants. She had it all planned out to a T. And so for 4 years in a row, she did this great experience. Well, the 5th year, she decides that she's going to bring her husband with her. Now, her husband has the Y of better way. So, better way, always wanted to improve things, always wanted to make things better, always questioning, can't we find a better way? So you can probably imagine in your own head how that worked out, right? Not very well. No. Why are we on this flight? Why didn't we take that? Why are we at this hotel, not that? Why are we didn't get this restaurant? Miserable. World War III. They get back and they're like, we can't travel together. We can't stand each other. I don't think this is going to work. Wow. And so once they went through and figured out their why, and this was just back when all we had was the why, it made so much sense to them. And they could then change the conversations to when he was doing his better way thing, when she didn't want it, all she had to do was really smile at him. And he would go, I'm finding a better way when you don't need one, huh? And she's like, uh-huh. And then he would just say, my bad, I'm sorry. Let me know if you need one. And so they could laugh about it versus fight about it.
Yeah, for sure. I could see how that could help marriages. We have just about 10 minutes left, so I've got 2 more questions for you.
Yes.
Could you use this to hire for a position? Can you have somebody take the test and then the right way? We're putting systems into our organization right now. And it seems to me like a right way person is the perfect person to delegate this task to. Thoughts?
Yes. And yes, it's phenomenal for that because, and I want to, right way would be great. Even better, believe it or not, would be simplify, but very hard to find. The why, the sequence of the whys is in the order of what I thought before I had all the technology we have now, what I thought was the most common to least common. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty accurate. It's off on a couple of them, but not significantly. Even better would be simplify, because not only do they like structure, but they make it so simple that anybody could do it.
So that would be the person to actually write the process or to document what we're doing and put it into our program software.
Yeah. Either of those two would be really good. Slightly better would be simplified, just because they can not only create that structure, but they can do it in a way that's so simple that everyone understands it. Right way is more about, let's get something that works. And if it's complicated, so what?
Okay.
Whereas simplify is, we want it documented, structured, and simple. So, but it's very hard to find. Simplify is really the most rare why. That one and mastery are the two most rare whys. So if you can find simplify, you're golden. If you can find right way, you're almost golden, but really, really good. Right way is definitely good enough and better than most companies ever have. The best run companies in the world, we've done this with thousands of companies now. The best run companies in the world have somebody on their executive team, leadership team, with the why of right way.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's,
are there correlations? Like, what pond should I be fishing in to go get simplify? Is there one group of people that you say, you know, I would post an ad in this place to maybe get somebody who hits that simplify button?
not that I know of. That's a really good question. And really it's funny you brought that up, because that's one of the things that where we're looking to move into is really helping people understand themselves in a way where they don't even apply for the job that's not going to allow them to live in alignment with it. And people aren't going to hire them for something they're not going to want to do. Again, if the only job that we had was, bookkeeping, you're going to hate that.
Right.
So if I hire you for it, even though you could do it, you are way smart enough to be able to do it. Big point. There's a huge difference between being able to do something and loving to do it.
Valid.
So
That's so true.
Could you be our bookkeeper?
Yes.
You could.
Begrudgingly.
But would you enjoy it?
Not at all.
Not at all. So don't put Matt in a position where he's going to lose, because you're going to think he's not a good team member. You're going to think he's not capable. You're going to think all these bad things about him that are not true. He's just in the wrong spot.
Yep.
But don't put him in the wrong spot to fail. So don't.
Goes back to the idea of getting the right people on the bus in the right seats. Yeah.
Becomes so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. And then have you used this to market? Can you, I've heard, and maybe it was you can take this and put your why, and I think you kind of did this with your dental school, but I think I may have heard this in one of your speeches as well, that you can basically use it to attract the right people to your business because your message resonates with them.
Let's do it right now for you, and then your audience will see how they can do it. So if you have a piece of paper or a pencil, or the audience does, write this down. I'm looking for someone who's looking for. I'm looking for someone who's looking for. And then we're going to add your why, how, and what, and that's going to be your ideal client. So we'll do it right now. So in your case, I'm looking for someone who's looking to have a bigger impact in their life, contribute. I'm looking for someone who's looking for help making sense of their complex challenge. And I'm looking for someone who's looking for a better way to move forward. Does that sound like your client?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can take each of the three areas and put them into that statement and put that into your marketing messages. And then there's kind of this connection.
The better able you are to articulate what you believe, the more you will attract those people that believe what you believe. But if you don't even know what you believe, if you can't say it, you don't know it, then you can't use it. Now you have it right there for who you're looking for. And so now all you've got to do, now you're clear on who you're looking for. All you have to do. So for those of you listening that haven't yet taken the YOS Discovery, on the dashboard, on the results dashboard that you get is going to be your message. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is copy that, put it into ChatGPT, copy your current bio or your current about you on LinkedIn or your current messaging on your website, put it into ChatGPT and say this: create Matt's homepage message or bio or whatever you're trying to create. Create Matt's about page on LinkedIn so that it's authentic to Matt and will resonate with his ideal client. And
There
boom.
may have been an internet glitch there, and you may have cut out. So can you repeat that so
Yeah.
that in case they get that whole thing again?
Yeah. So what you'll do is copy your simple YOS, which is your message, which is on the dashboard results page that you get when you take the YOS discovery. It'll be right there for you. Just copy it, paste it into ChatGPT, copy your current about or bio or homepage message, put that into, or all of those, and put them into ChatGPT and say, create my homepage message so that it's authentic to me and will resonate with my ideal client. And it'll create it for you. You'll be blown away by what you get. And then you just put that into your message, your about, your bio, whatever you want, and you'll be like, dang. So when I speak at big events around the world, that's what I do for whoever's the leader of the group. Is I will go to their website, I'll copy their about, I'll copy their simple YOS, I'll put it in the chat, and right there on the spot, I'll have it create it for them. And it blows them away every time because it's what they've been trying to say about themselves their whole life, but didn't have the words to do it. And now they do. Like, damn, that is me.
You are printing gold here for anybody who has not taken this, and for anybody who's looking for the right message for their audience. That last little bit is the gold that is going to pay dividends. You come alive when you even talk about this. It's really great to see. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Probably the best way to do it would be go to our website, which is whyinstitute.com, whyinstitute.com. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn for sure. Okay. But if you want to, first step, here's another tip. I don't meet with anybody in person or online unless I know their YOS. Why would I? What are we going to talk about? We're going to go around with a bunch of BS and try to figure out who each other is instead of just knowing. So I just made it a decision years ago. I don't meet with anybody. Doesn't matter who they are unless I know their YOS. And because then the conversation we have is so much more valuable, so much more impactful when we know who we're talking to. Otherwise, we just talk about a bunch of stuff. Well, tell me about your this, tell me about that. Where are you from? What do you do? What do you know? All that. Here we just get right down to the essence of why are we on the call? How can I best help you? How can you best help me? What do we want to do here? And so discover your YOS, and then feel free to reach out to me or my team, me on LinkedIn or my team through that. But it'll really be an impactful conversation. We have some really cool tools that are about to come out that allow you to take your YOS and then apply it to your life or apply it to your family. There's so many different powerful ways. If I could summarize this, I would say that knowing your YOS will make many, if not all, of life's most challenging questions so easy to answer. Probably the hardest question for all of us is, what do you want? People don't know what they want. And want could be career path, messaging, where I should spend my time, all those questions. People don't know what they want because they don't know who they are. Help them figure out who they are, and it becomes infinitely easier to help them figure out what they want. And you don't know who you are unless you can say it. Sort of kind of thinking that maybe I might know my why is not very valuable. What do you do with that? Knowing your why, your how, and your what, and being able to say it, man, all those other questions become so much easier. How do I find my passion, my purpose, my direction? How do I build my messaging, my marketing, anything about my business? Mm-hmm. All of that becomes so easy when you know your why, how, and what. Without it, you have to rely on hope. I hope I pick the right message. I hope I say the right thing. I hope this feels right. I hope I like this. I hope I'm going to enjoy this. But if you really want to
I wonder how much time you're going to give people when they figure this out 10, 15 years ahead of time. So they're not in that job or that career that they absolutely hate. And now they get to live on purpose. And everybody says live on purpose. You'll never work a day in your life. But I think you're actually doing that and helping people do that. What's the website that they should go to take the Y.OS?
Whyinstitute.com, WHYinstitute.com. You'll have the option of the Y or the YOS. Take the YOS because it's going to give you all three: why, how, what, all four, and your message.
Yeah, my wife took the Y the first time, and then she was like, "Where's the rest?" And so we had to take the second one. So I will attest to it. It's definitely better to have all three for sure.
Yes, and it's not expensive. So it's $97. That's it, and it'll solve so much for you.
Yeah, $97 to save you 10 or 15 or 20 years of your life and the things you've been wondering about, I think is worth it. And the last thing I want to close with is you're looking for joint venture partners or coaches who want to work with you, right? To get this message across. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so if this is something that resonates with you, if this is something that you want to be part of, our goal is to impact 1 billion people in the next 15 years. And we're on track for that now, but we need the right people to come alongside us and want to work with us and bring it to their audiences and be the influencer to their people. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, man, first of all, I want to find it for myself, but I'd love to bring this to not only my family, but my sphere of influence or my people, love for you to reach out to me. That's what we're right now in the process of doing. And so it's great for you to discover for yourself. It's even more impactful for you to see other people around you, your kids, the people in your sphere of influence, discover theirs and light up. It becomes almost an addiction, as you can tell with me. It's something that, man, when you see it and you get to experience it and you were the one that brought them to them, gosh, doesn't get much better than that. So if you want to be part of that, please reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn. You know, Gary Sanchez, you just got to go to LinkedIn and you'll see me right there. And love to connect with you and have you be part of bringing the YOS to the world.
Do you think you would be able to offer a discount code to our listeners?
Matt, for your audience, if they use the code podcast50, they'll actually get it at half price. So instead of $97, it'll be $50. So
wow.
Yes. So for $50, they can find their why, how, and what, and have their message. And all that stuff we talked about will be right there at their fingertips. And it's only $50.
That's so generous. Thank you, Dr. Sanchez. Really appreciate it.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to helping more people figure out their why. All right, Dr. Sanchez, thank you so much for sharing your message. I think it's really going to help a lot of entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you for having me, Matt. It's been great being on your podcast.
Thanks.